Namaste and good afternoon all. I welcome you all for this live-in program on Facebook, and it is organized by the Department of Tele Center for Person with Communication Disorder, All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore. And today's topic is the different difficulties faced by the school-going special children. And I would like to ask all the viewers and callers to ask the questions relevant to the topic. And today to discuss the questions and also to discuss about the topic, we have two eminent resource persons from our institute, Dr. G. Preeti Nair. Madam is an associate professor in the Department of Special Education, All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore. And Madam have worked deeply in different areas like curriculum adaptation, developing assessment tools, intervention tools, and also in early childhood education. I welcome you, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also we have another resource person from our institute, Mr. Freddie Anthony. Sir is assistant professor in the Department of Clinical Psychology, All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore. Sir have deeply worked in the area of behavioral management, and also sir have guided many parents in managing their children, not only at home and also in the classroom setup. And also sir have guided many educators and special educators so that they can manage very much well in the their special children in their classrooms. I welcome you, sir. And as I said, today's topic is difficulties faced by school-going special children. First, I would like to ask a few questions to our resource person, and then we will go on to our viewers call. Madam, usually what are the different difficulties faced by the, or different difficulties faced by the school-going special children?
Yeah, thank you, Vijayalakshmi, for the introduction. As we all know, children with special needs, they are a little vulnerable group because they have their own difficulties because of their maybe sensory issues or neurological issues. So when they and their main aim is to get integrated into a mainstream setup, but there also they have certain problems like the communication problem. They cannot communicate what they want to communicate, or when they communicate, the teacher might not understand what they are trying to tell. So that becomes a communication gap. Apart from that, the other problem could be the classroom strategies. Means the teachers are so used to a particular way of teaching that they might not get accommodated or adjusted to the way the child wants. So teaching strategy becomes a problem. Classroom management, the simple way of seating arrangement could also be a problem. And teaching learning materials means the inappropriate or not the non-availability of the appropriate teaching aids could also be a problem for these children, special children, when they are attending the normal schools.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, in the same way, sir, what are the common problem behavior in the school-going children, sir?
As ma'am told, there can be two sets. One is related to the learning aspect. Second is related to the social learning aspect. In both way, the learnings are affected with reference to special children. What we generally see from a school-going population is there are, number one, attention issues, overactivity, disobedient children, maybe tantrums within the classroom, aggressive behavior, sometimes aggressive towards others, sometimes aggression towards their own body, yes. Sometimes distraction, throwing things, damaging things, that can be also be seen. What we generally see from the home is the sleeping problem, toileting problem, that are generally not coming from the school setup. So school setup is the first one which I see, which is, whereas home setup is totally different kind of a scenario.
Sir, we will attend the
Yes.
call.
Yes.
Hello? Hello?
ಹಲೋ ಹಲೋ
Hello?
ಮೇಡಮ್ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಕವಿತಾ ಅಂತ.
ಹಾಂ, ಹೇಳಿ.
ನನ್ನ ಮಗನಿಗೆ 6 years 9 months.
ಹಾಂ,
ಅವನಿಗೆ ಅಪ್ರಾಕ್ಸಿಯಾ ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಸಾರ್ಟ್ರಿಯಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಅವನಿಗೆ ಯೂರೋ ಕಿಡ್ಸ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಈಗ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿನ ಸೇರಿಸಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವನಿಗೆ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲೇ ಆಗುತ್ತಾ ಅಥವಾ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲಿಗೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಡೌಟ್ ಇತ್ತು.
Okay. The question is like one child who is 6 years 3 months and he is going to Euro
9
Kids,
months.
9 months, and he is going to Euro Kids, and he have apraxia. So mother is like in confusion whether they have to select for a special school or for the regular school.
So, ma'am, this issue we can decide based on what is the ability, mental ability of the child. So, if the child is having a proper learning ability, what we call as technically call as IQ, mental ability, that will be one indication towards whether to join a special school or normal school. Ideally, if the IQ is normal or near to normal, even for mild, like IQ is above 50, 60 and all, it's always better to have a normal classroom exposure. So you have to get the IQ of the child tested wherever possible, and based on that, that person can guide it. That's one aspect of it.
I would also
But the thing is, he can't express verbally, no, ma'am. So how can he cope up with the other kids?
See, ma'am, there are another aspects also, in the sense like first he is able to understand there is some kind of accommodation done by the teaching faculty that probably ma'am will explain much better.
Yeah. See, when we are talking of communication, no, maybe you have to orient the teacher about the problem the child is having, so that the teacher has an understanding, yes, this child requires a separate attention. Many times what happens is like the problem is like we don't orient the teachers about the child's learning requirement. So once the teacher gets to know that the child has difficulty in expressing his requirement or difficulty in communication expression, maybe the teacher can use different strategies, like whatever she is wanting to ask, she can write it on the board, he can understand, and he can also be trained to express his requirement in terms of maybe by writing it down or showing pictures. So over a period of time they both will get habituated to the requirement. But simultaneously I would also like to add on like you have to give some support services like the speech training and all these things, so that over a period of time he also gets trained in that, and he can be successfully continued with the normal schooling. I don't think so a special setup will, because that will not help him in any way to learn the communication or the expressive language skills. Inclusive setup will be an ideal thing, because he will have his classmates with him, wherein he will also be motivated and encouraged to speak to them. So a regular school setup will be ideal for your child.
ಮೇಡಮ್, ಇವಾಗ ಸರ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಮೇಯ್ನಾಗಿ IQ-ನ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಡಿಸಿಷನ್ ತಗೋಬಹುದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ IQ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾದರೂ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಬೇಕಾದರೂ ಬಂದು IQ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ರೆಕಮೆಂಡೇಷನ್ಸ್ನ ನೀವು ತಗೋಬೋದು. ಹಾಗೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಥೆರಪಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಟಿವ್ ಅವ್ನಿಗೆ ಏನೇನು ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇದೆ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗು, ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವನ್ನ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸೆಟಪ್ಗೆನೇ ನೀವು ಸೇರಿಸ್ಬೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಬೆಟರ್ ಒಂದ್ಸತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿಸಿ ನಂತರ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಷನಲ್ಸ್ ಏನು ರೆಕಮೆಂಡೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೋದು. ನಿಮ್ದು
ಓಪನ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಮೇಡಮ್? IQ-ಗೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಗೆ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ತಗೊಳಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತಾ ಅಥವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬರಬೇಕಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಆನ್ಲೈನು ನೀವು ತಗೋಬೋದು, ಮತ್ತು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಕೂಡ ಬಂದು ನೀವು ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ತಗೋಬೋದು.
ನಾನು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಿಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಬರ್ಬೋದು ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಾನು?
ಬನ್ನಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಮಂಡೇ ಟು ಫ್ರೈಡೇ 9 to 5:30 ಓಪನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್.
ಹಾಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ನಾನು ಥೆರಪಿ ತಗೋಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೋದಾ? ನಾನೀಗ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಟೆಲಿಥೆರಪಿ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ನಾನು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಟರ್ ಹತ್ರ ನಾನು ಥೆರಪಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೋದಾ ಅವ್ನಿಗೆ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ?
ಅದೇ ಇವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ಲೈನಲ್ಲೇ ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನೀವು ಇವಾಗ ಬಂದು ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿಸಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮುಂದೆ ರೆಕಮೆಂಡೇಶನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದರೆ ಆಫ್ಲೈನ್ ಶುರು ಆದರೆ ಆವಾಗ ಆಫ್ಲೈನ್ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ತಗೋಬಹುದು.
ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎನ್ಕ್ವೈರಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಮಗುಗೆ ನಾವು ಥೆರಪಿ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಈ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಆವಾಜ್ ಆ್ಯಪ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಇದನ್ನ ಅವರು ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಾ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಡೌಟ್ ಇದೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಫಾರಿನ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೀಸಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಈ ಥರ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿನೂ ಆ ಥರ ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದೆಯಾ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ?
ಅದು ಮೇಡಮ್, ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಶೋರ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜೀಸ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ಯಾನಲ್ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಅದು ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಶೋರ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಆನ್ಸರ್. ಇಟ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಪಾನ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್.
Thank you, madam. Sir, again, madam and sir, we will continue with our discussion. So, madam, how can a communication difficulty be a problem for special children in regular school setup, madam?
See, now this question, based on this question, what happens is like our entire education system is so communication and language based that even when a child from maybe a rural setup comes to a urban setup and goes to a school, that child also face difficulties in expressing his requirement. So when in that case, when our children with special needs goes to a regular school setup, they will definitely have lots of communication problems. Now problems means what problems? Like they might know the concept or they might know what to tell, but that fear or that hindrance of like whether the teacher will understand, whether she will laugh at me, and whether am I asking the right question, whether my speech is comprehensible, whether my language structure is correct, whether my classmates will laugh at me. So there are so many communication problems these children from their side they will face. Other issue is like when the teacher is teaching, maybe the teacher doesn't know that the child might require some visual clues, or whatever the teacher is telling, the child might want a return deposit. Like if the teacher is telling something, we expect that they should write it on the board. If that is not met, child might lose the track like what teacher is telling. And sometimes we usually have the habit of like facing towards the board and writing and speaking simultaneously. So these are the communication problems from what the child faces, like his own communication problems as well as the environmental communication problem. So that has to be addressed. Maybe in sometime I'll just tell you the strategies also.
Yes, sir. Sir, when and how should a teacher or school management suspect that a child has a certain problem in his behavior like that?
See, like all the problem behaviors everybody shows, like hitting behavior, laughing behavior, or maybe getting angry. It's a normal phenomenon. So there is a mark where it becomes more, we need to look for a consultants. What we see is, if it is happening most of the days in a week or many times in a day for a continuously 2-3 months, so once in a while everybody will have some kind of outburst, so you should not need go and consult everybody. So it is consistent, like the word is most of the times in a day or most of the days in a week, continuously for 3 to 6 months. Then, and I'm sure all of you will have their own techniques to manage it. As a teacher, you will use some technique, and all of us are knowledgeable about that. So many times we also have our own ideas of tackling it, and that also fails. So the severity is more, the frequency is more, and our own strategies are not working. So it's always better to consult a trained professional.
Yes, sir. As you said, sir, that teacher or management should consult some professional. So whom they have to consult, sir?
Especially with behavioral issues, it has to be a mental health consultant, the person who is trained in the mental health activity. So psychiatrist, clinical psychologist, these are the professionals.
Excuse me, sir. We will continue. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Heli.
This is from Kerala.
Okay.
Do you know Malayalam?
Yes. Tell me, sir.
ഞാൻ വിളിക്കുന്നത് എൻ്റെ മോൻ 4.5 വയസ്സായി.
പറഞ്ഞോളൂ കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ട്.
4.5 വയസ്സായി. അപ്പം സംസാരം കുഴപ്പമില്ല, ഇപ്പൊ റെഡി ആയിരുന്നു. ഒരു സ്പീച്ചിൽ ഇത്തിരി കുറവായിരുന്നു. സ്കൂളിൽ ചേർക്കുന്നതിന് കുഴപ്പമൊന്നുമില്ലല്ലോ അല്ലേ?
ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് കഴിഞ്ഞതുപോലെ തന്നെയാണ് നമ്മളത് നോക്കുന്നത്. സാധാരണഗതിയിൽ ആ കുട്ടിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, കാര്യങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കാനുള്ള കപ്പാസിറ്റി, 4.5 വയസ്സുള്ള കുട്ടി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത് പേന വെച്ച് പെൻസിൽ വെച്ച് എഴുതുന്നുണ്ടോ കുട്ടി? എഴുതിയൊക്കെ ചെയ്യോ? പടം വരയ്ക്കുകയൊക്കെ ചെയ്യോ?
ഹലോ,
പേന വെച്ച് പെൻസിൽ വെച്ച് പടം വരയ്ക്കുകയൊക്കെ ചെയ്യുമോ?
പേന വെച്ച് പെൻസിൽ വെച്ചിട്ട് കളറൊക്കെ ചെയ്യും, കളറൊക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. പേന അക്ഷരം വരയ്ക്കാണെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സീറോ വരയ്ക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞാൽ സീറോയ്ക്ക് വരയ്ക്കാറുണ്ട്.
സീറോ വരയ്ക്കാറുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ, ഞാനൊരു ചതുരം വരയ്ക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു ചതുരം കാണിച്ചിട്ട് ചതുരം വരയ്ക്കാൻ പറഞ്ഞാൽ വരയ്ക്കോ?
ഇല്ല, വരയ്ക്കില്ല.
പൈസ കൊടുത്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പൈസയാണെന്നൊക്കെ അറിയാമോ?
അറിയാം.
ഓക്കെ, സാധാരണഗതിയിൽ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ഒരു നല്ലൊരു IQ ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യണം, അതൊന്നാമത്തെ കാര്യം. എങ്കിലും പറഞ്ഞത് വെച്ച് ആള് ഒരു നിയർ നോർമൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് നോർമൽ ലെവൽ തന്നെ കാണുന്നുള്ളൂ, നോർമൽ ലെവൽ തന്നെയാണ് കാണുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു നോർമൽ സ്കൂൾ തന്നെ ആയിരിക്കും. കേൾക്കുന്നില്ലേ? കേൾക്കാമോ? ഓക്കെ, അതായത് ഇപ്പം സാറ് പറഞ്ഞതനുസരിച്ച് നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ
They are not disconnected. He is thinking that is.
ഹലോ,
So we are still in line, sir.
കേൾക്കാമോ? ഒന്നുകൂടെ കട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് വിളിക്കുമോ? ഒരു പക്ഷേ നമുക്ക് നന്നായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ സാധിക്കും. കേൾക്കാമോ? അപ്പം അപ്പം സാറ് പറഞ്ഞതനുസരിച്ച്, ഞാനൊരു IQ ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തില്ല, സാറ് പറഞ്ഞതനുസരിച്ച് ഏതാണ്ട് എന്താ ഒരു നോർമൽ സ്കൂളിലൊക്കെ ചേർക്കാവുന്ന കുട്ടിയെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാകുന്നത്. ഒന്നുകൂടെ കട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഒന്നുകൂടെ വിളിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു പക്ഷേ കിട്ടുമായിരിക്കും. കട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഒന്നുകൂടെ വിളിക്കാമോ? ഒന്നുകൂടെ വിളിച്ചു. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും നമുക്ക് കൺവെർസേഷൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ.
Okay, sir, we will continue with our discussion. Yes, sir, that only the parents, they have to contact certain professionals, parents or school management or teachers. You were telling about that.
What I was telling is it has to be a mental health consultant. So generally we have psychiatrists, clinical psychologists. These are the professions which we see. My recommend is usually it should be somebody who is trained behavioral. Behavioral therapy is actually one part of a therapy, one part of a psychology. So somebody who is trained in behavioral medicine or maybe behavior therapy will be much better person to help this kind of issues. So first thing, you can consult any mental health professional, psychiatrist, psychologist. They will be knowing who among this particular city is more trained in that, and they may guide you to find this person who is more behaviorally trained. So that behavioral modification is the choice of treatment.
Okay, sir. Madam, do you think that the lack of appropriate teaching learning can pose a problem for the school-going special children?
Yes, you are asking about the teaching learning material availability?
Or teaching learning process, everything, ma'am.
Yes, because see, usually what happens, these children require a little modified way of teaching, learning strategy also, and a teaching learning material also. So now in general, if we see, all children will require that multisensory learning approach, like wherein we are engaging all their senses, like they might be a visual learner, or they might be an auditory learner, they might be a kinesthetic learner. So if we select teaching learning materials which will address their requirement, and they can see, feel, touch, manipulate, and simultaneously when the teacher is talking about it, then it will be very easy for them to understand. So but sometimes what happens is, like we use like in the regular schools, teachers, the availability might not be there. So during that time, teachers might just use maybe a picture card with not much elaborate explanation. So these children might have difficulty to get connected. And the other problem with children with special needs is, like, they cannot imagine. So whatever material we are planning to use or incorporate in the teaching process should be in the present, where they can see, feel. Any imagination means it should be at that level where they can see, as it could be like that. So, and another thing is, like, we always have this concept, like teaching learning material should be expensive or state of the art. Yes, if the school can afford, you can buy. But there are many beautiful low cost teaching aids also, which will help the teacher to convey the message. So this is all about teaching learning material. Yes, the strategies could also be accommodated, or it could be modified, and it could be made in such a way that it addresses the universal design for learning, where all children can learn from that design.
That only, ma'am. Actually, as we have already experienced in our preschool, like children through the smart boards and all, they are learning very much nicely compared to the old that lecture method and all. Children will be more active when their activity based activities are done in the classroom.
Very true. And I should also tell the children want this time of this technologically oriented time are so lucky that whatever they imagine or whatever they want to see, just with a click of the fingertip, they can avail it, they can see it, they can manipulate it. And yeah, and we should use it to the best maximum possible. But one more thing we have to tell is like it should not be too bombardment. Like, okay, to teach one concept, many teaching aids, it should be appropriate and measured so that they also start using their imagination, which is also important.
Yes, ma'am. So, madam told about the how the teaching strategies and material should be used in the classroom, sir. And we also already we have discussed that how to benefit the child to whom they have to consult and all we have to. Next, sir, what are the different behavioral intervention to be administered?
So when we plan for an intervention, it goes in 5 stages. It's very important for us to understand those stages. If you miss one stages, our plan gets not in the right way. We may get it wrong. So it's always start with the first stage of selecting the behavior. Then we have to measure the behavior, how frequent it is it really a problem, how severe it is. Then only we can understand there is a benefit or not. If you don't measure at the first place, then we cannot tell at the end of the day was there improvement in my particular. It's always important to measure it from the starting. This is important for a behavioral perspective. I told previously also, we have to be behaviorally oriented person. In this sense, we have to measure it, what happens before therapy. Then we actually train those parents to measure it at home, because the behavior measure help the teachers to measure at the classroom, because psychologist usually is not there in the classroom and the behavior happens in the classroom. So it's usually measured at the place where it happens. So usually sometimes we ask the parents to measure it, or sometimes teacher will also measure it, so that after this measurement is done, we try to analyze it, what exactly is the problem
For
happening.
this measurement, there will be some tools or questionnaires like that we
Definitely,
have to
I will
develop.
explain to that.
Yes, yes.
So after this measurement, we analyze it. Based on the analysis only, we will find what exactly is the problem, which is the right technique to implement. So to say, if our diagnosis is wrong, the treatment is going to be not the right one. So it is very important to diagnose the problem first, so that we can go to the treatment also. Now it is very important when we use the word behavior, use behavioral technique. I also use behavioral technique. When I say behavior in this sense, it is something which I can see and measure. I repeat, it's something which I can see and measure. For example, somebody says concentration is not there. I cannot see concentration. I cannot measure concentration. So that is not a behavioral term. So many times most of the parents come and say concentration is not there. So I have to convert it into a observable and measurable.
Yes, sir. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Tell me.
പറഞ്ഞോളൂ. ഇപ്പൊ കേൾക്കാമോ?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, sir. We are hearing you.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, we are hearing you.
Okay. From Kerala.
Yeah. You can speak in Malayalam.
പറഞ്ഞോളൂ.
സാറ് ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ വിളിച്ചത് കോൾ കട്ടായി പോയതാണ്.
ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് ഇപ്പൊ കേൾക്കാമോ കൃത്യമായിട്ട്? ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ സാധാരണ സാറ് ചോദിച്ചതിന്റെ ഉത്തരം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു IQ, കുട്ടിയുടെ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ് ലെവൽ. IQ എന്ന വേർഡ് ഞാൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല, ചെറിയ കുട്ടിയല്ലേ. കുട്ടിയുടെ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ് ലെവൽ ഭൗതികമായിട്ടും ഇമോഷണലായിട്ടും എല്ലാം കറക്റ്റ് ആണ്, ഏജിന് അപ്രോപ്രിയേറ്റ് ആണെന്ന് തോന്നിക്കഴിഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു നോർമൽ സ്കൂൾ തന്നെയാണ് എപ്പോഴും ഉത്തമം. 2-3 ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിച്ചപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഏജ് അപ്രോപ്രിയേറ്റ് ആണെന്ന്. ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ, കുട്ടി ചെറുപ്പത്തിൽ ഇരിക്കാനും നടക്കാനും ഒക്കെ വൈകിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, ഒന്ന് പറയാൻ പറ്റുമോ? ഓക്കെ, അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക്
നമ്മളൊരു 3 വയസ്സിൽ നമ്മൾ അംഗൻവാടി ചേർക്കലോ, അത് ഈ കൊറോണ ടൈം ആയതുകൊണ്ട് അങ്ങനെ ആക്കാൻ സാധിച്ചില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ട് സഹായിക്കാന്നാണ് നമ്മൾ പ്രതീക്ഷിച്ചത്.
ഓക്കെ, ഞങ്ങൾ അങ്ങനെ തന്നെ വിചാരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഇപ്പം നോർമൽ സ്കൂളിൽ ചേർക്കുക, ഒപ്പം ഈ സ്പീച്ച് ഡിലേയുടെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുകൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്പീച്ച് നന്നായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ആ സ്പീച്ചുമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട ട്രെയിനിങ്ങും തെറപ്പികളും കൂടെ കൊടുക്കാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിക്കുക.
ഞാൻ കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, സ്പീച്ച് തെറാപ്പി കൊണ്ടുപോകുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോഴാണ് ഇവൻ ബെറ്റർ ആയത് ഇച്ചിരൂടെ.
അപ്പൊ വീണ്ടും അറിയാലോ, 6 വയസ്സ് വരെ നല്ല രീതിയിൽ ബ്രെയിനിന്റെ വളർച്ച വളരെ വേഗത്തിലാണ്. അപ്പൊ 6 വയസ്സ് വരെയെങ്കിലും നല്ല രീതിയിൽ, ഇപ്പൊ 6 മാസം കൊണ്ട് നിർത്തരുത് എന്നുള്ളതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു സജഷൻ. നന്നായിട്ട് കുറച്ചും കൂടെ സപ്പോർട്ട്, ഒരു 6 വയസ്സ് വരെയെങ്കിലും, പിന്നീട് ഒരു 10-12 വയസ്സ് വരെയും കൊടുത്തത് നന്നായിരിക്കും. അത് കുട്ടിയുടെ ഓരോ ഇവാലുവേഷൻ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് നമുക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റും. എങ്കിലും നന്നായിട്ട് തെറപ്പി കൊടുക്കും.
എത്ര പ്രായത്തിലാണ് നടത്തുന്നത് IQ ടെസ്റ്റ്?
IQ ടെസ്റ്റ് ഒന്നുകൂടെ പറയാമോ, എത്ര വയസ്സിലാണെന്നോ? നമ്മൾക്ക് 2 വയസ്സ് മുതലൊക്കെ ഉണ്ട്, ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. ഇപ്പം പറഞ്ഞത് 4.5 വയസ്സല്ലേ, 4 വയസ്സിൽ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിക്കും. കുഴപ്പമൊന്നും ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും. സാധാരണഗതിയിൽ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ സൈക്യാട്രി ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിലുള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ ഒരു സൈക്കോളജിസ്റ്റും സാധാരണഗതിയിൽ ഉണ്ട്, അവർ ചെയ്യാറുണ്ട്. അപ്പം നമ്മുടെ AIISHൽ വന്നാലും നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള സൗകര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്. അത് ടെലിയിലൂടെ ആണെങ്കിലും കൺസൾട്ട് ചെയ്ത് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പം നിങ്ങൾ കാണുന്ന വെബ്സൈറ്റിലോ ഫേസ്ബുക്കിലോ നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് കാണാൻ സാധിക്കും. അപ്പം ഒറ്റ ഉത്തരം പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നോർമൽ സ്കൂളിലാക്കുക, ബാക്കി ട്രെയിനിങ്ങുകളെല്ലാം കൊടുക്കുക. എന്തെങ്കിലും ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ടോ, ഡൗട്ട് ഉണ്ടോ വേറെ?
വേറെ ഞാനപ്പോ ടീച്ചർ കൊണ്ടുപോയപ്പോ അവരൊരു 36-38 മന്തിന്റെ വളർച്ച എന്ന് എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞത്. ആദ്യം കൊണ്ട് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോ 22 മന്തിന്റെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. ടീച്ചർ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്ത ഒരു ഇവാലുവേഷൻ, അവർ കുറച്ച് ഗോൾസ് ഉണ്ടാക്കി അവൻ അച്ചീവ് ചെയ്തു. അവര് പറഞ്ഞ സ്പീഡി റിക്കവർ ആവുന്നുണ്ട്, കുഴപ്പമില്ലാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് എനിക്ക് 2 ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അവൻ അത്ര എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
എനിക്ക് അത് കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യാം, അത് അങ്ങനെ തന്നെ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യാം. ഓക്കെ,
കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്താൽ മതി.
ഓക്കെ, സന്തോഷം.
ശരി സാർ.
താങ്ക് യു സർ. Sir, we were discussing about the behavioral intervention.
So, what is important is the word behavioral. In this method of training, it is only observable and measurable. So, when you say I cannot concentrate, that is not acceptable. We change it. We saying that he is unable to complete the work. That's what actually we see. He starts something, he is not able to finish it. So, indicates something could be there in the brain which I can't see it. So generally we convert into something which can be measurable and observable. Then only you ask how can we monitor it. Yes. Otherwise, if you say concentration is not, it's very difficult to concentrate. So we flip it into an observable event. We start with some activity. In between he gets down, he rises from the seat, runs around. So he's unable to finish that particular activity. That's the way we have to flip little bit only in this particular mode of therapy. A psychoanalyst may have a different opinion, but when it comes to behavioral modification, we see it very strictly and very precisely. So you cannot deviate here and there. Then we will measure it in terms of the most common as how frequent it is or the length of the problem. So the child is crying for, let's say, 1 minute 30 seconds on an average, or the child is hitting others maybe 5 times a day. So that is the way we can usually measure it. You don't need too much of tools that particular point of time. So just observe what is the frequency, how many times a person does, and that too without his knowledge. The moment I know I am going to observe it, he is going to change it. So without his knowledge, if you start observing it, we can get the data, then go back to your clinician. He will guide you what next to be done. So it's very simple things which we can do at home, but it should be correct.
So these are the steps.
First 2-3 steps.
Oh, okay, sir. So further other steps are there.
Then once this data we got, maybe let's say 4 to 5 days out of information, what we generally see is where it happens, when it happens, with whom it happens. I'm sure if we are there are many parents coming in and telling, with me it happens, with my child's father it doesn't happen. Maybe ulta. With father it happens more, when mother is there it doesn't happen. Or when only we are there it doesn't happen. When the grandparents come it becomes more. So there are a lot of variables within the family which works it. So we have to see where it happens, when it happens, with whom it happens. So we try to see each event by event for the last 4 or 5 days of measurement, and then we are analyzing in such a way to find why this happens. For example, the child is throwing a stone. We are not bothered about throwing the stone, but we are bothered about why the child is throwing the stone. That is the most important error most of us make. We are bothered about the behavior. Why did you throw the stone? Why did you hit others? The ultimate point is why the child did it. So it's very simple. There are only 4 or 5 reasons. Either to get something, or to get your attention, or to escape from something, or he has nothing to do, he start doing it. These are the most common things we see. But most of us make error by focusing on the behavior as such, and we try to reduce it, manage it, and most of us fail also.
Okay, yeah.
That's the problem, because we are not targeting the reason behind the particular behavior. So if you are able, that's why we say it's very important to identify the reason, what we call as function. Technically we use the word function. What is the function of the behavior, not the topography, what it is shown on the behavior. So if you target that, within a matter of 3 to 4 days, or maybe 3 to 4 weeks, we can work it. Most of us fail is we target the behavior, and we end up don't know what to do kind of a thing. That's where we mean about. So, for example, like it's most of the one of the most common is temper tantrum. Jiddi hai, vashi, temper tantrum. So this one classical starting point is there. The child wants something, I said no, he is starting tantrum. Child wanted chocolate, I said no, then he starts showing, maybe hitting or going there. Sometimes we want something, come and sit, study. He starts tantrum. Both are different. Both are completely different in terms of the science behind it. But usually we don't differentiate it. Both we have the same technique. And people come and say, no, he is very tantrum, he does show, he doesn't behave it. So both are technically, the starting point differs. The behavior is same. Both way he will be biting you, or pulling your hair, or banging the head against the wall. But the starting point was different. One, I asked. Second, he asked, I didn't see. Both ways were technical. So there is a lot of education happening in. I hope these programs will all help on that particular thing, where we have to target the reason behind the behavior rather than the behavior.
Yes, sir. Sir told about how we have to reduce the problem behavior, and we have to find out what is the reason for the problem behavior, so that we can reduce the behavior, and we can make him to study or something to do the useful work. So, madam, what is the role of the parent of special children in successful schooling?
A very important question, and a very important role also parents have to play, because it's a teamwork. Like, it's not only once the child goes to school, it's not the only responsibility of the teacher. Parents also have an equal role to play, especially when it comes into children with special needs. Because here what is happening is, like, the parent knows the child very well. So, and the teacher doesn't know the child very well, because the child is being going to the school for the first time. So I always feel, and I always tell my parents who come to our preschool, like, orient the teachers about the learning requirements of the child, or a specific need of the child. And not only the teachers, the management, the principal, sensitize them. Because see, we cannot just tell the teachers like they are not helping or they are not paying attention. Teachers also have, like as sir told, the reason. They are so burdened with work. And so when a child with special needs come, it's the like the role of the parents to orient the need of the child, and tell like, what has to be done. Maybe request the teacher to help the child sit in the first two rows instead of putting him at the back, because there is a tendency that the teacher might make the child sit at the last bench or the last seat and not paying attention. So if you make a personal request and tell the reason, the teacher might oblige by helping the child sit in the first two benches. Or the teacher might also help the child sit on very nice, maybe a bright child. So there could be like an interaction going on between them. The teacher can also inform the parent like what she is planning to teach the next day in the next week, so that the parent can help the child understand the concept, learn the language at home. This how it can be helpful is like, so when the child is in the classroom and the teacher is teaching that particular concept, he is along with the class, he is not left behind. So sometimes what happens when the child is behind, he's not understanding what the teacher is teaching, he might feel lost. So here, when the concept is already introduced, the associated vocabulary and language is taught, and when the teacher is teaching, writing it on the board, giving example, he feels associated. He feels, and moreover, when the teacher is asking a question and he's answering, that confidence increases.
Yes,
No?
yes.
So automatically it will be useful. So here it's like give and take. if when the teacher is helping the child and the parent is also helping the teacher cope up with the requirement of the special child. And moreover, if the teacher and the parent have a very good rapport, the teacher can also tell like, okay, these activities could be done at home, so that an extension of activities. So it's like so it's not the entire burden coming on the parent, not the child, and not the teacher. It is equally distributed, and we can see the success automatically. I've seen when there is a group effort and the equal contribution from all the three stakeholders, the child does so well in the mainstream setup, and it's like a success moment for everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Here, one more point I want to add, ma'am. Like, if the teacher is doing a certain lesson or some thing, means she can tell the material, what material, special material required for the child, that can be prepared by the parent. Instead of burdening the teacher only, this special material can be prepared by the parent and can be used in the classrooms also. Hello? ಹಲೋ
ಹಲೋ
ಹಾಂ
ಮೇಡಮ್,
ಹೇಳಿ.
ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ರಮ್ಯಾ ಅಂತ.
ಹಾಂ,
ನನಗೆ 11 ವರ್ಷದ ಮಗ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಡಿಸಾರ್ಡರ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸಬಿಲಿಟಿ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಅವನಿಗೆ ಇವಾಗ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅವನ ಏಜ್ಗೆ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಈ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ.
ಆಯ್ತು.
ಇವಾಗ ಅದು CBSE ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಥವಾ ಈ ತರ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? ನನಗೆ ಅದು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್. ಹೇಗೆ ಇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಗೆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ AIISH ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಆ ಥರ ಡೌಟ್.
Actually, ma'am, parent is asking like 11-year boy, she have a 11-year son, and he have a speech problem and also learning disability, and she is asking whether they have any facility in our AIISH for him.
No. See, she also asked, I think, whether there is a separate syllabus.
Yes.
See, there is no they don't have a separate syllabus. They have to either follow the state syllabus or the central syllabus. But
Okay.
we can modify them. Like you are asking the educational service at AIISH. Yes, we are there at education department. We have a service called as the Curricular Support Services. This is exclusively meant for children with children going to school. So you have to follow the same syllabus. And when you come to our department, means first to our AIISH for the registration, and then as per the rule to our department, we will see in which subject is having the problem, and our trained teachers, the special educators, will adapt and modify as per the requirement of the child. So what happens is like he's in the same syllabus, but his learning requirement is met in a very accommodative way. Okay. So you can enroll for this curricular support services at the Department of Special Education at AIISH.
ಮೇಡಮ್, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯಿತು ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಂತರ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಅಂತಲೇ ಕರಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಯಾವ ಸರ್ವಿಸಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಏನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. ಆವಾಗ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎನ್ರೋಲ್ ಆದರೆ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್, ಇವಾಗ ಏನು ಅವನು ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಏನು ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ ಅದನ್ನೇನೆ ಮಗುಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗೋ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಟರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ನಿಮಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇದು ಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಥರ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಅಮ್ಮಂದಿರನ್ನು ನಾವು ಜೊತೆನಲ್ಲೇ ಕೂರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನು ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಅವಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮುಂದೆ ನಾವು ಈ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ನ ನಿಮಗೆ 1 ವರ್ಷ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. ಮುಂದೆ ಈ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಆದ ನಂತರನೂ ಮಗುಗೆ ನೀವು ಹೇಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಉದ್ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಜೊತೆನಲ್ಲೇ ಕೂರಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಜುಕೇಟರ್ಸು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಂ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಅವಾಗ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಬೇಕಾ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನೂ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ CBSE ಆಗಲಿ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ದಾಗಲಿ ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಗುಗೆ ಕಲಿಸ್ಬೋದು. Sir, shall we move on to the next questions? It is from Madam. Madam, how can teachers or school management help the child so that the child enjoy coming to the school and learn joyfully like
Yeah,
that?
as I told, the previous question was on parents. So this question is on the teachers and management. It's very important because ultimately the child has to survive in that mainstream setup. So when first is like they should have a positive attitude, and mostly the schools are receptive these days. The only problem they face is like they don't know how to do that transaction, educational transaction. So what first what means the management from their part, maybe they can recruit a special educator for a resource room setup. That will be helpful for any child with special needs. That could be an initiative they can take. They can also arrange for orientation programs, like they can have tie-ups with national institutes like us, wherein we are orienting them about classroom management. And many teachers have benefited because that's the need. Many teachers tell that we want to teach the child, but we don't know how to teach. Okay, so that could also be done. And moreover, like, so this is the two main components: having a positive attitude, recruiting a special educator. If that is little difficult, maybe having a constant orientation and tie-ups with the national institutes. Moreover, what other ways they can do is like they can help the child. Like as I told some time back, a little bit of classroom management. Let the child sit in the first row so that he has direct view of what the teacher is telling. Maybe the teacher can also inculcate a habit of whatever she's telling, she can write it on the board so that he can copy it, or he can understand, okay, this is going on. She can give a correct instruction to the child, and make the child feel, yes, we want you, and encourage the other peers. That is also a common thing. Like if the peers start making fun, peers or the classmates start making fun of this child, that they don't feel like going to school, no, because that's the age when they make friends. So when they don't have friends, or when they don't have someone to communicate, they feel lonely. So that could also be a reason ki, like they don't want to go to school. But if the teachers support, make groups or make these children a part of the other children, and they play together, include him in all the activities, be it sports or giving him responsibility. So when the child feels, yes, I'm also wanted, he will definitely like going to the school and enjoy learning.
Yes, ma'am. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Tell me, ma'am.
Avani.
ಹೇಳಿ.
I don't know Kannada, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay. You tell me in the English only, ma'am.
Yeah, my son is now 6 years old.
Okay.
He just turned 6. So he's got speech delay. I had come to AIISH also.
Yes, ma'am. We are hearing you.
Yeah. So now he's like much improved his speech and all. Although it's not up to the mark, but he's much improved. But now, what the major problem I see is when he's left alone, he laughs a lot. I don't know. He'll remember something and he'll keep laughing a lot.
So there is an answer in your question itself. When he is left alone, he laughs a lot.
Yes, sir.
So like 6-year-old child left alone, what happens is they need constant stimulation. That's the age where they need constant stimulation. Usually they get stimulation from the other the people around them. So now technically speaking, what you have to do is what you call as activity scheduling. You have to schedule your day-to-day activities, you as well as your child. Therefore there won't be any longer duration of child being left alone. So try to look where is like, is there any particular time of the day the child is being left alone? Like let's say both are working parents, some point of time. That's we see a lot. Like people start giving mobiles and all. So like you have to do what.
Mostly I'll try to engage him, but he definitely, like, maybe he's cycling, and I'm not talking to him. So after a while he starts laughing.
Okay, so like then so first is activity schedule. I have to see the level of the child, And I have to say now, there is how to get engaged with the child. You have to engage the child at child's level. That's the problem most of us face. We either understimulate or we overstimulate. In both way, it doesn't benefit the child. So we have to see the child. Probably you need a help of an expert saying that, see, these can be the activities. They list out the activities in a particular order. I repeat that word, in a particular order. So usually what we generally typically see is all the good things happens together, then all the bad things happens together, boring things happens together. So that is not the ideal way of like all play, then study. That should not be the way. It has to be in tandem. We always start with the boring activity followed by the pleasing activity, like preferred activity. So you just spend some time. What you can do as starting off it, you take a sheet of paper, have a diary of all the 30 minutes, like 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9:30, like every half an hour you keep a track of the child, what the child is doing for at least 3 days. Then you can really understand where exactly is the weak point. Like whether could be I will be busy for something else. So and this point of the time, like everybody is at home, but everybody is busy. That's the kind of a nature of home right now. So people get stressed also. Stress also is level. Family stress is high across the globe. Family stress is high. So there could be, like, if you get an expert help, and surely somebody can help you to schedule the activity so that this won't aggravate.
Who can that person be, the right person be?
Any psychologist, any trained, even speech therapist can also spend time with the, like, say, are you stimulating the right way? Are you spending the time in right way? So any helping, like any consider, like speech, maybe even special educators also, they can look into that. Even special educators also, they can look into whether. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
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 I think we lost the call.
Yes. Sir, one more last and very important question, sir. Sir, that you have talked about behavioral management. Here, sir, how we will measure the behavioral management, and what are the intervention techniques, sir?
So, like at home, the most important thing we expect the family members to do, at least track it, monitor in terms of frequency and how many times it happens, how long it happens. So that is the most common thing family members can do it at home. That's the most thing. The remaining things are a little bit, maybe checklists are there that requires a little bit of explanation or a little bit of expertise. But we feel if the parents can track it, I can tell you why. Because if you recollect what happened yesterday, what happened day before yesterday, you won't get it right. Our memory is so tricky. So if you recollect from the memory and tell us, there is always a chance of missing the right picture. So that is why this is important. Just track either frequency or duration. How long you need a stopwatch, most probably, because I told you, the child should not know you are talking it, or the clock should be in such a way it should be digital, so they can, at a glance of eye, you can say, okay, my child will show temper tantrum, and temper tantrum duration is, let's say, 3 minutes. Then probably after 2 weeks of intervention, it comes down to let's say 2 minutes. There is an improvement. If you don't count it, you don't know there is an improvement. So that's the importance of counting.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Tell me, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Evening. ഞാൻ മേധ കേസ് ഒരു വൺ ഓഫ് ദ അവിടെ ഞങ്ങൾ കൺസൾട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് ഫാദറാണ്.
പറഞ്ഞോളൂ.
3.5-year-old ആണ് ഇപ്പോൾ, 3.8-year-old. ഇപ്പോൾ ആൾക്ക് ഇത്തിരി ഡിലേ ഉണ്ട് സ്പീച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ കുറച്ച് സ്പീച്ച് തെറാപ്പി ഒക്കെ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. സോ ഇപ്പോ കോവിഡ് ആയിരുന്ന സ്കൂളിങ്ങും ബാക്കി കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ കുറച്ച് ഡിലേ ആണല്ലോ. സോ വി ഡോണ്ട് നോ അത് ഇപ്പോ ഗോയിങ് ഫർദർ ഞങ്ങൾ എന്തൊക്കെ കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ടത് അയാളെ സ്കൂളിലേക്ക് കയറ്റുമ്പോൾ. ബിക്കോസ് ഒരു വർഷം കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ചിലപ്പോൾ പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല, സ്കൂളൊക്കെ ഓപ്പൺ ആയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ചേർത്തേണ്ടി വരും. അപ്പൊ ആ സമയത്ത് ഞങ്ങളുടെ മെയിൻ പ്രശ്നം ഈ ഒരു മിംഗ്ലിങ്ങും ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേഷന്റെ ഇഷ്യൂ ആണ്. കാര്യങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കാനോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനത്തെ പ്രശ്നങ്ങളൊന്നുമില്ല, പക്ഷെ കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരു ഇഷ്യൂ ആണ് കൂടുതലും കാണുന്നത്. അവളുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറയാനോ അതിനൊക്കെ കുറച്ച് റിലക്റ്റൻസി അവർക്കത് അല്ലാതെ കമ്മ്യൂണിക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാതെ ആ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നടത്താൻ ട്രൈ ചെയ്യും. ഒരു വഴിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമാണ് സംസാരിക്കാൻ ട്രൈ ചെയ്യുന്നുള്ളൂ, ശ്രമിക്കുന്നുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോൾ ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് അറിയാൻ പറ്റുമായിരുന്നു എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ അതിൽ അയക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞങ്ങൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ട കാര്യങ്ങൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്.
ഇതിന് 3 രീതിയിലാണ് അവന് ഉത്തരം പറയുക. 3 കാര്യങ്ങൾ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കേണ്ടത്. ഒന്ന്, സ്പീച്ചിൻ്റെ ഡിലേ ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നന്നായിട്ട് സ്പീച്ച് തെറപ്പി ചെയ്യുക, അത് ഒന്നാമത്തെ കാര്യം. രണ്ടാമത്തെ കാര്യം, സ്പീച്ച് തെറപ്പിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ കൃത്യമായിട്ടുള്ള നിർദ്ദേശപ്രകാരം വീട്ടിൽ സ്റ്റിമുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക. കാര്യം ഈ 1/2 മണിക്കൂർ 3/4 മണിക്കൂർ തെറപ്പി ചെയ്ത ഒരു മാജിക് അല്ല അത്. നമ്മൾ വീട്ടിലും കൂടെ ആ ഒരു തെറപ്പിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ നിർദ്ദേശപ്രകാരം, നമുക്ക് ഗൂഗിൾ ചെയ്ത് കിട്ടുന്ന ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ അല്ല ഞാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്, തെറപ്പിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ നിർദ്ദേശപ്രകാരം കുട്ടിയുടെ ലെവൽ അനുസരിച്ചുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ അവർ പറയും, വീട്ടിൽ എന്തൊക്കെ ചെയ്യണം, എങ്ങനെ ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ കൃത്യമായിട്ടുള്ള നിർദ്ദേശപ്രകാരം വീട്ടിൽ സ്പീച്ച് സ്റ്റിമുലേഷൻ ചെയ്യുക. മൂന്നാമത്തെ കാര്യം, നമ്മൾ കോവിഡിന് മുന്നേ പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നതും ഇപ്പോഴും പറയുന്നുണ്ട്, പക്ഷേ നമുക്കത് ഫോഴ്സ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്തതാണ്, ഏജ് അപ്രോപ്രിയേറ്റ് ഇൻറ്ററാക്ഷൻ. സമപ്രായക്കാരോട് കൂടിയുള്ള ഇൻട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള സൗകര്യം. ചെറിയ പ്രായത്തിലാണ് ഡേ കെയറിലാക്കുക അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ അംഗനവാടിയിലാക്കുക എന്ന് പറയും. പക്ഷേ ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ഈ കൊറോണ നടക്കുന്നത് നമുക്കത് റെക്കമെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. അപ്പോൾ ഈ മോളൊന്നും ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുന്നില്ല കാര്യത്തിൽ. സോഷ്യൽ ലേണിംഗ് ആണല്ലോ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്. കാര്യം ആൾക്കാരുമായിട്ട് ഇടപഴകാനാണുള്ള ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്. അത് എപ്പോഴും നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുന്ന സ്കൂളിൽ നിന്നാണ്. വീട്ടിലുള്ളത് 3-4 പേരോ പ്രായത്തിൽ മൂത്ത കുട്ടികളോ ഇളയ കുട്ടികളോ ആയിരിക്കും. സോഷ്യൽ ലേണിംഗ് നമ്മൾ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പഠിക്കുന്നത് നമ്മൾ സ്കൂളിൽ നിന്നാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് കൃത്യമായിട്ട് സ്കൂള് തുടങ്ങുന്നതനുസരിച്ച് വിടാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിക്കുക കേട്ടോ.
ഇയാളുടെ കാര്യത്തിൽ, മേധയുടെ കാര്യത്തിൽ ഒരു സോഷ്യൽ ഒരു സെയിം ഏജ് ആയിട്ട് ലീഡ് ചെയ്യാൻ ഒരു ചാൻസും ആർക്ക് ഈ വയസ്സ് വരെ പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല.
അത് എത്രയും പെട്ടെന്ന് കൊറോണ മാറട്ടെ എന്ന് നമുക്ക് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കാം. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് കുട്ടി സ്കൂളിൽ പോകട്ടെ. ഓക്കെ,
ഇത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ. അറിയാൻ പറ്റും വേറെ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ വീട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത് മാക്സിമം.
So what I feel is like, can I add one more point? When the child, sometimes when the child goes to the school and when she or he, means when the child mingles with the age appropriate child, slowly and progressively the child will start communicating. We have seen many children, as you told, age appropriate friends are not there or age appropriate children are not there in the surrounding. That could also be a reason. Okay, so as you told, improvement is there in the speech and only the social issues can. When the school reopens, identify a school where they have importance not only to academic but co-curricular also, and put the child in that setup, and slowly you see the improvement, and encourage the child to talk, mingle, express. Okay, so and that should also be told to the teacher ki like motivate her to participate in whatever activity is being done in the school. So slowly and steadily, I am very sure the child will pick up, sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Okay, sir. We are almost towards the end of the live program. Today in this session, I think really most of the parents have benefited by the expertise suggestion and all, and also through the discussion also. Here the madam have told many techniques and how to handle the children in the classroom setup, and what are the methods, materials should be used, and all madam told. And in the same way, in the side by side, and the sir also, in the psychological point of view, how to identify the behavioral problems and how to measure that, and what are the intervention techniques we have to use to reduce that, and in the same way how to we enrich the educational ability of the child also, sir also told us. So I thank both the resource persons to sharing there, and also discussing, and also suggesting the parents callers. And also I thank the TCPD department and also one and all who supported for this program, and also for the success of the program. Thank you one and all. And one more thing, that last thing, that in this pandemic time also, in our institute we are giving online services in our institute. If you want to know the information regarding this means in our website, that is www.aishmysuru.in. If you go there and if you see in the right hand side of the web page, there you will have a latest announcement. In that you will get the information regarding the online services of our institute. Thank you. Namaste.